Kakadosh Boker Or, Masechet Avodah Zarah Daf Yomi Daf Samech Amud Aleph 68:1. We were talking about Vika de Amri. There are those that say we're talking about, right? That Amar of Papa says Ada Barza, all the wine from the beginning of the Chavit until the spout is going to be a sur. Everything else is going to be mutar. Okay, so he comes now and he says this. Amar of Yimar, it says of Yimar, Ketanai, Samachlo Ketanaim, Chavit Shenikva Ben Mipia Ben Mishulea. A chavit that was full of wine of truma that got a hole, whether in the beginning of the chavit, whether it's in the shulei chavit or whether it's on the sides, v'nagabo tvul yom, and it touched the tvul yom teme'ah, it's going to be teme'ah. Rabbi Yehuda says, mipiyah u'mishulei teme'ah, right? From the mouth or from the sides, all the wine is going to be tameh. Mitzidea, if it's going to be on the sides, it's going to be teorah mikan. It's going to be tahor, right, on all the sides. Okay, so Amar of Papa comes and he says, Oved Kochavim Adana V'Yisrael Kuba. What happens if the Oved Kochavim is grabbing the Chavit and he's pouring into a jug of a Jew and the Yisrael is holding the jug? Chamra Asid, the wine is a sur. My time, what's the reasoning? Because when it's coming from the strength of an Oved Kochavim. The Yisrael Adana, but if it's the Yisrael that's grabbing the barrel and the Oved Kochavim is grabbing the jug, and the Jew is pouring, the Israel is pouring it into the jug of the goy, Chamra Shadi, it's going to be permitted. But if he's mechaven the kad in order that he, that means he's moving the jug around in order to receive the wine, it's going to be asur. Amar of Papa says, Hay Oved Kochavim de Dare Zika. This Oved Kochavim that's carrying this flask of wine, and there's a Jew behind it. Mal Yashare, if it's going to be full, it's going to be permitted. Telo mikarkash, but Oved Kochavim is not moving the jug. Chasira asur, but if it's going to be lacking, it's going to be asur. Dilma mikarkash, because maybe he's moving it around. Kuba, right, the kad yain which is open, malya asir, if it's full, it's going to be asur. Dilma naga, right, because maybe he comes and he says, maybe it's going to come, it's going to be Dilma naga, maybe it's going to touch it, and chasira shade dulo naga, but then it's going to be permitted because he didn't actually touch it. Ravashi comes and he says, Zika, if the wine is tied, right, to the flask, right, if it's tied basically, ben malya ben chasida, whether the flask is full or lacking, it's going to be mutar. My time, what's reasoning? And derech nisuch bekach, because basically it's not normal, right, to doing nisuch like this, but rather by shaking the utensil, not by holding it, right, with this, that it's going to be tied to something. Ma'atzra zaira, when we're talking about where they're going to crush the grapes. Rav Papa says that it's going to be mutar. Rav Papi says it's mutar. Rav Rashi says it's asur. Bekocho, if it was going to be his strength that he's crushing it, for sure it's going to be asur. Ki pligi, when is it going to be a machloke? Bekoach kocho, when it comes from his strength. Ikadamri, or some people say bekoach kocho, that it's going to be mutar, and the machloket is going to be bekocho. So hava uvda bekoach kocho. There was a story that happened that it came from his indirect strength. And he prohibited it. Okay, so now it's going to bring a story. There was a chavit of wine, 60b, that it's cracked along its length. So the Oved Kochavim came and he closed it together. He hugged it. He hugged the barrel to keep it closed. So he says, sell it to a goy, no problem. But that's only if it broke leorka, right? But if it broke to the rochav, and therefore he came and he put, like the pressure on it, afilu b'shtiya is going to be mutar. My tama, what's the reasoning? Maaseh levena kavi, because then he was only just doing a maaseh of an action of a levena. He says here, it's like since the top of the barrel anyway was already on the bottom part of the barrel, and he says they weren't separated; it was just cracked. So he only just put pressure. So putting pressure, you're like a brick that you just put a pressure on the top. That's fine. Okay. There was a goy that he was, right? He was on the side of a Jew, right? A Jew's gut. The Amar Ravashi says, now what happened is that when he's on the side, it's a little bit moist. So now they don't know, did he touch it? They don't know what happened. So he says, if it's going to be a little bit moist, you just rinse it and then you just dry it up. And if not, just rinse it out and it's going to be permitted. Mishnah. The Mishnah Samech Amud Bet. Oved kochavim shenimtza betzad habor shel yain. If all of a sudden you find a non-Jew that's by a pit of wine, im yesh lo milve alav. If he has a milve on it, which means that he lent money for it, it's going to be asur. Why? Because we're going to suspect that he did something. Vimlo, and if not, milve alav, it's going to be mutar. Nafal lebor ve'alav. What happens if he fell into the pit and then he came up? Now remember, in the pit there's wine. Medado bekaneh, or he was measuring it, or he tiza tzira bekaneh, or he started throwing part of the wine with the kaneh, with like a straw. Or sheyamat piach al pi chavi menutachat. Bechol elu haya maaseh ve'amru yimacher. They said you have to sell it to a goy. Rabbi Shimon says matir. He says it's mutar. You're allowed to drink it even. Natal et chavi ve'zarka bechamato lebor. What happens? He took the entire barrel and he threw it into the pit. This was a story and actually permitted the barrel. Amar Shmuel says, that's only going to be if he's got a milve on that wine. Where that means he's got a loan on specifically on that wine. Ravashi says, it's also deduced from the Mishnah, the Tnan, as we learned in the Mishnah, if a Jew is coming and he's purifying the wine of a goy, and he's giving it to him as a reshut, and he's writing, I received the money for the wine, mutar. But if he wants to take it out of his possession, he doesn't let him until he gives him the money. Right? But if not, then that's it. That's yain esech. And they prohibited the wine. That's what he doesn't let him. But if he did let him to do it, so he says it's going to be permitted. So we learn from here that it has to be specifically in order to prohibit that he has a milve on that wine. He's got like a loan, right? And the collateral is that wine. Then the two dots says, Nafal lebor ve'ala. What happens if the goy falls into the pit and then he comes up? Right now, again, inside of the pit there was wine. Samar of Papa Loshani, what are we dealing with? Ela Allah met, if he came up dead. Avalim elachai, but if he came up alive, it's going to be asur. My tama, what's reasoning? Amar of Papa, the dami alek yom edam. He says for him, it's like he for sure did it when he came up. He just made like a big yom tov. He was just saved from a pit of wine. So for him, so then it's going to be asur. Medado bekaneh, if he's measuring it, in all these cases, there was a story and they said to sell it. And Shimon says it's permitted even to drink it. Give him brachot on his head. But when he permits even to drink it. But when he's going to be osed, he is osed afilu b'hana'ah. The de'aba manachman v'chasta ve'amla v'chasta in the name of Ziri. Halachas like Rabbi Shimon. V'ikadamri, there are those that say, this is what Zidi says. Halacha like Rabbi Shimon, ve'en halacha Rabbi Shimon, but the halacha is not like Rabbi Shimon. That means we don't paskin like Rabbi Shimon. Okay, in all these cases, bemet, you have to sell it to a goy. There's nothing what to do. Next, Natal chavit uzraka be'chamato. If he took a barrel and he threw it because he was upset and he threw it into the pit. This was a story and they said it's going to be permitted. Amar Ravashi says, Kol shebezav tameh, anything that by a zav, it's going to be tameh. A zav is a man that has a seminal discharge. It's going to make yain nesech. Kol shebezav tahor, be'oved kochvim is not going to make yain nesech. So eighthly, they're going to ask the following question: Rav Huna Ravashi, Natalet chavit uzraka b'chamato lebor. If he took the barrel and he threw it into the pit, Zaya Masev Vetchan. This was the story in Betchan V'chshiro, and they said that it's going to be kosher. B'chamato in only if it's because he was upset. But if he wasn't upset, right, it's not going to be mutar. It's only because he was upset, right? So says the Gemara and Samech Aleph Amud Aleph on the top. Hatam de Kazel Mine Umine. There, the Mishnah is talking about that he's rolling it the entire time with his koach. So since he's rolling it, that's why it's going to be. He says over here the Oved Kochavim didn't actually throw it. He was migalgelidze. He's like rolling it around, right? So therefore, he comes and he says that's why it's not mutar ela keshu zarak if he threw it, but not when he's like rolling it.